Sachin,
Hey Dinker,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
3 weeks later, huh?
3 weeks later, and uh, we actually had this conversation earlier, and turns out I forgot to click the record button.
Yeah.
So we're going to record it again.
I don't
So
know whether I'm going to deliver the jokes punchlines as effectively as first time, but let's try.
a lot of people will be thankful for that. So one of the things that we have always talked about, it's part of our book also, is tech debt,
Yeah.
and we have kind of mixed feeling towards it. It's good, it's bad, it's important, cannot be escaped. Um, would love to hear a little bit about tech debt from you also.
Correct. Uh, yes, technical debt is very common, but for people who are not so familiar with that term, let's break that down. So, from programming world for application development or enterprise technology world, technical debt has been a very long aware concept. It is a healthy compromise many times which an engineer or architect has to do to design a system. And whatever is the compromise, it could be certain complications, or you are saying right now let me keep the architecture very simple, or certain library choices, or you are implementing a feature in certain fashion and you are saying let me come back to it and refactor it at a later stage.
Hmm.
These are healthy compromises which engineers do in the favor of speed, but sometimes unwanted things also come into picture. Let's say there are team inefficiencies, or somebody picked up a library which was not so ideal, or it was end of life support obsolete. The license of the library was incorrect. Sometimes you have a very strict guideline on what kind of libraries you want to pick, and that can blow up in your face. One of the great example from recent times is this log4j incident, where the whole world was saying, you know what, we need to go and upgrade our code and then upgrade the log4j version. Seems a very simple task, but it might have costed $1 billion plus to the whole world, because they were just recompiling and then deploying their new software. Sometimes people struggle to even find the source code of that original system.
Yeah.
So these are the challenges.
Nothing brought developers and techies of the world together like Log4j crisis did. Everyone was
Right.
doing the same thing, thinking about the same thing at the same time. Yeah.
Right, and hence what I used to disagree with is, I do not think technical debt should be targeted at zero.
Hmm.
Whenever you are doing, there are certain decisions you make at the point of time, and then in the future you would like to come back and revisit, uh, and many times you don't even know all the details to make the best decision.
Yeah.
So uh, the target shouldn't be to keep the technical debt zero. The target should be keeping the technical debt in a such a way that you can address it in a reasonable time.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel the team which believes that we should have zero or negligible technical debt are very defensive, and they are not taking the right amount of risk to move forward fast. So in my mind, technical debt is not entirely a bad thing or evil thing.
Yeah. The only teams that I've seen focus on zero technical debt are teams which are creating some critical system. I've worked with those kind of teams in the past, but that's a whole different world. They are not there for innovation. They're for creating a very highly reliable uptime. Heart pacemaker. There's a software inside it. That's a totally different team. That's a totally different focus. Them striving for zero tech debt is a whole different
I
story.
mean, what you are referring to is the quality of software. That's
Yeah.
a completely separate issue,
Yes.
because in the software examples which you picked up, these are safety critical systems, they call it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you are making some sort of compromise on the safety of that critical system, it's not delivering to its promise. It's not a compromise. It is actually lapse in quality. Now, I would qualify that as a different thing.
Right. Right. And the best way I put tech debt is it's kind of a trade off. It's always a trade off between speed
Yes.
today and effort tomorrow. and you don't want to get too speedy, but also you don't want to move everything to tomorrow. So that trade-off has to be very smartly managed. And as as we get involved in this world of data, data debt has become something that I've become aware of, and I've started talking to people about it. And tech debt is kind of sometimes kind of visible because of to all the developers, but data debt is something that, if not focused upon, can suddenly become a big trust issue. Let's go a little deeper into this. So what do you think about data debt, and which is your most focused upon data debt recently?
Right. So let's talk about data debt for a minute, and then we can go
Yeah.
towards the which one is the first type of data debt, which I believe. Uh, in my thought process, uh, data debt is not anyway similar or shape to technical debt.
Its cousin, technical debt.
The name sounds similar. It sounds in the same zip code, but it is not. Uh, I'll explain. And when we are talking about technical debt, this concept came when people were trying to build software which was more fast delivery, which is consumer focused software, or enterprise software which is focused on faster delivery, like social network enterprise systems, where you are able to release software faster.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be, like focusing on speed,
Moving
delivering
fast,
value,
breaking things,
delivering
working.
value
Yeah.
quickly. So you want to like have a healthy compromise. Now in these scenarios, typically, if your system does not have too much amount of side effects, then in that situation, whatever software you are building has a very simple fix when you are releasing improvement to your software. So you address certain technical debt from that point onwards. Earlier, it used to take 7 steps for you to do a card checkout. Now it is taking 6 steps. Improves right away. So anything which happened in the past, that has nothing. It's going forward. The software is better. But in data debt, that is not how it works.
Hmm.
If you are working with a carrying a lot of data debt, that means you are also maintaining tremendous amount of a custody of like data transformations and everything. So you make mistakes or you carry technical debt in one place, you are also carrying them into other places too. Now, there are some sort of technical debts which are similar to software technical debt. Example is you are doing in a pipeline calculation, but that can be simplified, that can be optimized. Yes, it is very similar to technical debt, but the type of debts which we are going to talk today, I do not think they qualify as the software technical debt.
I think the common thing between the two cousins is the debt part, that
Yes.
you're not acting upon now something now, you will inevitably have to act upon it later, but the repercussions and kinds are kind of different. Let's start talking about a few of these. You go first.
First one is my recency bias, but the quality debt. And what do we mean by quality debt in data world is whenever you are observing or you are consuming certain data, typically this data is you are not connecting to directly source systems and then picking up data, because these could be heterogeneous systems which are
Mm.
fetching data. There could be, for building a customer 360 model, you would be and model, not AI, but I'm talking about the schema, is you will be bringing data from order history, you may be bringing from customer history and profile data. There are other systems which you are going to pick information from, and then when all of that comes together, you are going to present that thing. So it's a culmination of so many processes and so many data sources which are coming together. If you are not able to assure that all the parameters of consumers are
Mm.
trustable in terms of certain quality. Example, what if certain customers are getting null as a date of birth? This is a quality issue. Now the downstream systems where you want to pick up and then, let's say, send them a birthday reminder, but downstream system expects every time the date of birth column to have a non-null value, then you should make sure that that is covered in your data in quality assurance. But we have also seen in some places people actually put default date, which is
Mm.
1st of January 1970. that that means there are a whole bunch of customers who are having a birthday which is at the start of the epoch time.
Yeah.
And this is also another type of quality issue. Yes, you have addressed it, but it is incorrectly addressed,
Yeah.
and that is what is the quality debt. And many organizations pay secondary focus onto these quality issues,
Mm.
because there are so many points where data starts coming in, and if you are not towards the earliest touch point of your data, you are starting to assure the quality checks, then it is going to become very difficult in the cascading manner.
Yeah.
So that's what is my one which comes to my mind. Which one is your recent bias?
Yeah, so you're talking to a lot of customers, and you're kind of getting this. I'm also talking to a lot of prospects, and trying to understand what their problem statements are and how we can help them with data OS. We're both at Modern, our employer, and this, trying to use this awesome product for the talking to them. And one of the things, as I'm talking about data products, how the reusability is the killer capability, this whole concept, right? The problem statement that starts surfacing is our pipeline debt, this
Yeah.
whole idea of pipeline sprawl over so many years, thousands of pipelines, no one has an idea. There was a request, you immediately, quickly, can I get something quickly? People have created a pipeline. There was no documentation on its inputs, output, the purpose. There was no discussion or documentation or a smart way of doing it. Even if there was an intention, there was no smart way of saying that this was the purpose of it. This is the data quality that this pipeline is okay with, having these kind of DQ issues. These kind of DQ issues, this pipeline is not okay with. So when some next person comes and says, hey, I need some kind of data, can you create a pipeline? There's no possibility for someone to figure out that, hey, can you reuse this one? And even if someone suggests, they say, okay, I don't know what's happening in this pipeline, my data is very important for me, can you create a new one? And over this whole pipeline, that has kind of started coming up everywhere. And again, good software practices, yes, but on the data side, avoiding hard coding of transformations, putting error handlings, putting documents in documentation in a way that they can be programmatically accessed or they can be readily available. The whole pipeline debt is the other one that I'm seeing.
Yeah. uh, for any developer, whether it is pipeline developer or software developer, it is very difficult to delete code.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to people that the moment you deploy your code into production, that becomes legacy, that you need to start maintaining that as
Yeah.
legacy. In the same vein, the next debt which comes to my mind is schema debt.
Mm.
As you mentioned, that people generally, in a business urgency or responding to some urgent request, they end up creating new pipeline. But that happens because of a couple of reasons. One is, if you don't know all the pipelines, what are they supposed to do? As
Mm.
you mentioned, the documentation doesn't exist, you create new pipelines. Similarly, you also create new columns, and perhaps to populate this column, there is also one more pipeline which is behind the scenes, which is just adding sprawl to your data ecosystem. So in my mind, this the whole notion of lack of knowledge
Mm.
in, and these cryptic names which people actually put, emp underscore something underscore something underscore something, and it is not very descriptive. It's very hard to understand what this data represents. Sometimes it could be possible that like there are some tables which I have seen which have 300 plus columns. It is so hard for any human being to even look at this and say that, hey, this 5 columns could have potentially similar value. But it's so hard, and to be confident about that change and asking people to use something, very tough. So I think schema date comes to my mind
Yeah.
next.
I see your schema debt. I raise it to metadata debt. Um, you're right. Cryptic naming schemes which business does not understand. So when they look at something, they don't really know what this means. And all the business glossary, what are the business terminology that someone is using out there in the business world, and these technical fields that I've named, this kind of overlap, building on the ontology of that business, the descriptions, right? As LLMs and AI became more and more accessible for developers and for business, this absence of metadata has really hampered the ability to use structured data for these kind of analysis. And putting on the right metrics along with the data itself, right? If there's a pipeline, why actually not compute all the metrics which are very important for this usage? Why create another system for it, another function for it, another set of users, and then someone is looking at data and worrying about the freshness of data? Why not put all this together and really think of metadata in a much more systematic manner? Now, as that is happening, now efforts are being put that how do we go and fix these things in the past. So while we are catching up on the mistakes or debts of the past, are we doing things right that we are not incurring more metadata debt? In fact, we were talking to a prospect who really wants to build just one system in which they will present the data to the business and ask business, can you give us the business friendly version of it? Can you explain business description of this, the purpose of it? And this whole effort is going, they kind of catching up on the metadata debt. So what thing that people should also think about it, what kind of things we can do today in order to not incur more metadata debt in the beginning, in the future.
Agreed. And I think you chasing these gambling metaphors. So I'm not going to do that. Otherwise, we will add one more financial debt to the whole scene. Moving on to the next debt on my mind is lineage debt. And just to tie all these debts which we talked
Yeah.
so far, there are a couple of more. Is the quality debt, the metadata debt, the pipeline debt, and the schema debt. Now, if you think about this lineage debt, why this one is also very crucial. If you lineage is a concept in data world which people will know about, is how from source system different data fields were picked up, and then what transformations they underwent, and then how you are delivering certain data elements to the consumer, so you are able to explain them step by step. Now, why it is so crucial that all the other elements of quality pipeline issues and everything is sorted out, is this entirely produces the data in expected manner for the
Mm.
business. If a data consumer is not able to trust the pretty chart which is in front of them, what good it stands for? It
Yeah.
is nothing. So we have seen time and time again that people are uh, using um lineage as a very isolated concept of
Hmm.
explaining, rather than thinking of about this in a little bit more deeper way, that it is not just to explain these are the transformations which I did, but unless you have like put all the underlying things as well correctly, lineage carries very little value. So I think lineage is the one which comes to mind.
And lineage kind of contributes to whole idea of governance, and that's the other debt that people have been
Yeah.
incurring. Let's put something together now. Everyone has a god mode where they have access to the PII, and we, the UI will take care of it, or the application will take care of it. But this has to shift left. Governance, access control, who can see what kind of thing, how to put all the control. This really has to become, go as close as to data as possible, rather than relying on application, or user interfaces or consumption layer to take care of it. So governance debt is one more thing where I feel that there is a lot of thought process that needs to be put into to avoid it in future. But this is something that I'm seeing for real. And tying all of this governance is knowing what's happening where, which is your favorite one.
Yeah, and just to talk about the last debt, which is observability debt.
Yeah.
Uh, Today's data ecosystems are extremely complex. First of all, you are connected to heterogeneous sources, and then there are these cascading pipelines which are running one after the other to feed the upstream data consumption layer. Think about it. Your one data pipeline could be powering three cascading pipelines, and this data pipeline is supposed to run when somebody uploaded or updated some file into a cloud storage bucket or FTP or some sort of remote storage. Now, when these type of events are triggering, and if they fail to submit, let's say, a file which was on a daily basis you are sending order history or something, and that pipeline failed or pipeline did not get triggered for whatever reason, the subsequent pipelines which you are executing might not be able to pick up that data. And
Mm.
that means now you are looking at a stale data, or you are looking at incorrect data, or the quarterly projections look wrong. And the cost of such is people start losing trust into their outcomes. And generally these are silent failures. It's like the pipeline runs but there was no data to be picked up.
Mm.
And that's why it is super crucial that we are mindful about observability. And all observability failures in data world are not where something errors out. It could be that something did not trigger, or I expected something to happen every 24 hours. And there are automated checks in which you say what is the freshness of this data, what is the quality of the data, accuracy of the data. So just doing a recap to tie this thing whole down. One is your the first one which we talked about is quality debt. The second one was we talked about pipeline debt, where you are having the sprawl of pipelines. Then comes schema debt, where you may be having a sprawl of column names or schema itself. And next comes is metadata debt. Then we talked about lineage, governance, and finally observability.
Yeah.
So it just became very clear that data world is far more complex compared to the software world, where technical debt exists in certain qualities, but all of them aggregate to that. But these are isolated issues which could damage the reputation and trust of your data ecosystem itself.
Yeah, a business leader won't care. Is there a schema mismatch? You didn't do the null check. They'll come and say, this data doesn't look right. I cannot rely on it to
Exactly.
make any decision, and trust is gone. And takes so much time to rebuild the whole trust.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, to kind of close, from my perspective, the way I see it is that data debt kind of slows down
Yeah.
growth and scaling up, but data debt slows down the trust building and decision making for an organization. So data debt is something that seems is not getting all the attention that it deserves, and I think should be a big focus of every CDO who is kicking off a new initiative.
Agreed. Um, in that example, I felt you meant the first one was technical debt slows you down.
Yeah,
Um,
I was
yeah,
comparing. Yeah, the tech debt slows you down, whereas
yeah,
data debt.
exactly. So I agree with you. There is no two ways about the the attention which it is currently given by many organizations around data debt needs to be significantly amplified. And luckily, there are many tools available today which can help you in solving these problems in a more systematic manner. But it requires some effort from everybody.
Great. This was a good discussion, Sachin, and see you around for the next time.
Thank you so much.
Let's see in how many days, weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See you around. Bye.